Foamposite Galaxy is returning on February 21st for the first time ever. And to celebrate that special occasion, I thought I'd go through my favorite Foamposites ever, create a top 10 list, and just take a trip down memory lane. I considered leaving out the Foamposite Pros, the one with the swoosh on the upper, but there's some colorways for the Foamposite Pro that I just didn't want to leave out. Now, I do think a lot of people may disagree with the order of the foams on this list, but when it's your list, you get to decide the order. Here we go. First, it is an honorable mention. This probably is going to be in a lot of people's like top 10 or top 5, maybe even top 3, maybe even top 1. But for me, I think this shoe just kind of felt a little catfishy when it first came out. And it is the Foamposite Dr. Doom. It was part of the Fantastic Four collection that Nike brought out. And every other shoe as part of that collection, you could clearly tell they were referencing certain characters. But for this shoe, it's a white and black Foamposite Pro, but it's supposed to be Dr. Doom's shoe. No green, no like references to Dr. Doom himself. It was a very odd choice, and there's some conspiracies that Nike just wanted to stick Dr. Doom onto the shoe just to kind of boost sales and boost hype and just shove it into that collection. So it just smelled kind of catfishy. I did not like it. But if you're just looking at the shoe in a vacuum, a black and white Foamposite, delicious. And what I love about this shoe is that the white that came with this was like super white. There was no like off-white, no sail, no like pre-aged, no like yellow, no muslin, just straight white and black. As simple as it can be, and as a black sneaker lover, this is really nice. Really nice shoe. But the reason why it's only an honorable mention is the fact that it doesn't have any green in it. Doesn't sit quite right with me. Now at number 10, it is a very recent Foamposite. It is the Foamposite Cherry Blossom, and they just came out in 2024. This shoe was the Foamposite meant to celebrate the DMV area. The DMV area, if you don't live in the US, it is DC, Maryland, Virginia, and historically that region has always loved the Foamposites. Like, it was a very popular shoe down there. I'm actually not too sure if it's still as big as it once was. Probably hype has died down a bit, but it's always been synonymous with foams. And DC is also known for their cherry blossoms. I know Japan, like on a global scale, is known for their cherry blossoms, but in the US, DC is known for it. And if you've never been to DC, I strongly recommend it. One of my favorite cities ever. And this shoe, you can see custom insoles with the cherry blossom patterns, and you also see DMV branding on the pull tabs. And I think this upper, it is different, but it's not super loud. They could have gone with like a real pink upper, but it doesn't really look like that. I feel like this shoe still looks quite wearable. Never was able to actually get my hands on the shoe, didn't review it, but I would have loved to. I think if I actually got this shoe last year, it probably would have been somewhere in my top 10 sneakers of the year, because I really like this Foamposite, really like this colorway. Now, one Foamposite that I did get last year and I did review was the Tekken 8 Jin Kazama Foamposite. And this shoe also just released in 2024. I promise this list is not just full of Foamposites from the recent like 1 or 2 years. Just happens to be that way for number 10 and number 9. Now, this is 1 or 2 colorways from Nike and Tekken 8. The other one was the Kazuya colorway that was blue. They both dropped during the EVO tournament. That's like a fighting game tournament that was held in June or July last year. So the Kazuya colorway, I believe, only dropped during that tournament, but this Jin Kazama colorway also dropped on sneakers. Out of the two, I actually like this one better. Love Jin as a character. One of my very first games on the PlayStation, it was Tekken 3, and honestly, that just changed my life. Love the characters, love the fighting mechanics, love the artwork. Yeah, just everything about the franchise, it really hooked me. I don't really love fighting games that much overall, but got a special spot for Tekken in my heart. And this shoe definitely played right into it. You see like the lightning pattern on the upper, it is 3M, so it gives a pretty cool reflective look under certain lighting. The best thing about the shoe, I think, number 1, it is the box, definitely the box. So a very sturdy, huge box, comes with the foams like strapped in, and you also see artwork from the game itself. That, if I recall correctly, that is the opening scene of Tekken 8. And another really delicious thing about the shoe, it was the outsole. It's got this kind of camo-ish, almost camo-ish green to the outsole, and it says Fist and Fate on the left and right shoe. Now, if this shoe had nothing to do with Tekken, it probably wouldn't be on this list, and it probably wouldn't have made my top 10 sneakers of last year, but yeah. Sometimes you just gotta let your bias win, and this is still just a list based on my opinion. I just definitely let my Tekken bias do its thing. And at number 8, it is the Foamposite Paranorman that first dropped in 2012, and the shoe was for the release of the animated film Paranorman, one film that I've never actually seen, but it was a super exclusive shoe. So only 800 pairs were made available, and the way they released it was kind of weird as well. If I remember correctly, they got people to like submit weird photos of themselves, or like weird childhood photos of themselves on Twitter, on social media, and they would pick the winners. Now, even though I've never seen the movie, so I don't like have too much of a connection with the colorway overall, as a black sneaker lover, I think this looks cool. So the shoe was glow in the dark. You see the phrase Weird Winds on the heel, as well as Paranorman, the character from the movie, on the left heel. The shoe made this list kind of just off that colorway alone. If that movie that was tied to the shoe was a movie that I had a more stronger connection with, I would have put this shoe higher up on my list. And at number 7, it is the Foamposite Chromeposite that first dropped during the 2015 NBA All-Star Weekend. And again, this is one of those foams that just really kind of takes advantage of the craziness of foams, of the craziness you can do on the upper and the material of this shoe. So it's got like this mirror-like look on the upper with transparent outsoles. It had Nike branding on the back instead of penny. Nothing much else to it, but it still looks so different. I'm not quite sure if this is a shoe that I would like wear around casually a lot, but just like sitting on a shelf, I think it just looks super sleek. It's definitely an eye catcher, definitely a head turner, and really just captures what you can do with the Foamposite without like actual graphics and some crazy design on the upper. I love this shoe. And at number 6, it is the Foamposite Anthracite that first dropped in 2007, came back in 2020, and again at the end of 2023. And this is a shoe that I did review, and as a black sneaker lover, can't go wrong with an all black sneaker, an all black Foamposite. Delicious. There's just nothing much else to say about this shoe. Super sleek, like a sleek nighttime shoe. There's a lot of rhyme jokes that come with wearing black sneakers, but I love it. I absolutely love it. If you want to know more details, check out my review. And at number 5, it is the Supreme Foamposite that first dropped in 2014. Now, there were 2 colorways that dropped, a black and red shoe that was meant to celebrate the 20th year anniversary of Supreme. Both colorways are very, very delicious. The upper motif and design is inspired by Versace, and you can see kind of subtle Supreme branding on the design itself, as well as the tongue. It just looks really cool. I'm not sure which colorway that I like better. Probably the red one. I think that stands out a bit more. Kind of gives it a bit more of a special look. But yeah, both are delicious. So I'm including both colorways as the number 5. And if my memory serves me correctly, I'm not like a huge Supreme guy. I actually don't own a single thing from Supreme. But around this time was probably peak Supreme popularity, or leading up to it. Yes, someone can correct me in the comments below, but they're definitely not as popular or as like hyped as they once were, or maybe they are, I don't know. But I do remember like mid 2010s to like early 2020s or late 2010s. Yeah, they were on top. They were definitely on top. And at number 4, it is the Foamposite Eggplant that first came out in 2009, came back in 2017, and again in 2024, very recently. I did review this shoe. Some people probably would put this colorway a bit lower down the list, but I really like this colorway. It's got this dark purple kind of shade to it. It's not too bold or bright where it becomes unwearable. There's something just like very sleek about how they did this design. It is not like a bright violet or anything. Close enough to black or like very, very dark purple where, yeah, you can pull it off quite easily. At least for foam, it just looks so different. And out of all the colorways on this list, this is probably one of the more toned down colorways. And my personality and the way I dress is definitely a bit more toned down, a little bit more subtle. And I think this eggplant colorway is subtle enough without being too bold, but still definitely very different. And at number 3, it is the Foamposite Galaxy that first dropped in 2012. And it is coming back on February 21st. And this shoe, without a doubt, definitely was peak Foamposite popularity and hype. People went crazy over the shoe. Many crimes were committed just trying to get their hands on the shoe. Hopefully this year that does not occur, and I don't think it will. But yeah, this is when Foamposite demand just went through the roof. This upper is very different. Very, very different. Obviously it has a space galaxy theme, and I'll admit, I don't think this colorway is that wearable, at least for me. I probably wouldn't wear it too much, but I gotta admit, for a lot of people from my generation that were old enough, definitely old enough to like really love sneakers, but probably didn't have a lot of money back in 2012, definitely couldn't get this shoe. Yeah, there's a certain part of us that just wants this just to fulfill that memory. And just judging from images, I feel like the graphic on the 2025 version may actually be like crisper and just a bit more detailed and bright on this year's shoe compared to the 2012 version. It's almost like 4K versus 1080p. So yeah, hoping I will be able to review that shoe very shortly. Which leads me to number 2. I think a lot of people probably would have had Galaxy further up this list, but first 2 were kind of non-negotiable for me. Number 2, it is the Foamposite Pro Pearl. and that first dropped in 1997, came back in 2002. In 2009, they had an exclusive drop from House of Hoops, and then a year later, they had a wider release. But that year, that shade of pearl was slightly off, so people complained about it. And then in 2015, it came back as part of the Higa game pack. The other shoe as part of that pack was the Flight Hawk, which is a pretty kind of niche and obscure shoe. And Higa game, if you weren't aware, if you love basketball, it's just like one of the best basketball related movies ever. I just loved it. And honestly, you don't have to be like a basketball fan to appreciate that movie. Ray Allen, who was in the NBA at the time, he was the main character. And the great legendary Denzel Washington played his father. And actually, Spike Lee wanted Kobe Bryant to play the main actor. And in that movie, Jesus Shuttleworth, played by Ray Allen, was wearing the pearls. This colorway, delicious. It is very simple. Nike branding on the booty, has Foamposite on the pull tab. And yeah, definitely the most tame colorway out of all the Foamposites on this list. But it is one of the best. I believe this colorway is actually coming back in holiday season of 2025 this year. Definitely looking forward to that. And this colorway did come out shortly after the original Foamposite came out, which leads me to number one, the Foamposite that started it all. It is the Foamposite Royal. And of course, the Foamposite came out in 1997 originally. It debuted in this Royal colorway. And the story goes, the Foamposite was meant for Scottie Pippen, but Penny Hardaway was meeting with Nike. He saw a sample of the foams and he was like, what is that? I need that. So they kind of switched things up. The Foamposite is basically synonymous with Penny Hardaway, has been ever since. This royal blue was actually a slightly different shade of blue than the Orlando Magic blue that Penny Hardaway was on at the time, but the connection was undeniable, and the foams to this day, it's still one of the most unique shoes ever. And who knows what would have happened if this shoe continued to come out as planned for Scottie Pippen. We'll never know. But what I do know is a lot of shoes, OG colorways, just are slightly more influential, more historically significant. And the Royal Foamposite, yeah, it is definitely one of those shoes. And of course, this shoe also came back in 2024. And that version actually came with a black outline around the swoosh, which is actually how the original sample promotional images came. None of the retros had ever had that outline on the swoosh. So last year's version was very special, and sometimes when I do videos with like lists, it'll be hard to know what's like top 3 or top 5, but then other times, I already know what number 1 is, and then I just create the list with number 1 here, and then figure everything out from there on. And this is one of those lists. So that's it, thanks for watching, Soul Inclined. Let me know what you think of my Foamposite list. Did I screw things up? Did I get it 95% correct? Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. And remember, tomorrow may never come, so wear your shoes.